Hi, listeners, and welcome to this episode of the New Story Podcast with me, Rebecca Conran, holistic healer, astrologer, and life coach. And today I've got back my mentor of the last decade, healing practitioner and spiritual counselor, Abdi Assadi. Hi, Abdi.
Hi there, how are you, Rebecca?
Yeah, I'm
Nice.
good, thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I'm really happy to be doing this because this is all stuff that I've definitely wanted to ask you about. So today for our listeners, we're talking about integration. And there is going to be a blog post. We're not going to get into the astrology this time, but I will do a newsletter blog post that goes along with it, and you can find that on my website. And I'll remind you at the end of this that you can look at some of the things that we might mention and some more of the astrological insights. But we're going to talk about integration today, which is just basically talking about spiritual practice, spiritual integrity, some of these themes that are coming up, burnout, especially for people who are um, on a spiritual path, that it's such an
Mhm.
intense time. Yeah, what do you think of when you think of the word integration, Abdi? What does it mean to you?
So the term integration denotes that there was a separation or a break somewhere within, if we're talking about the psyche, and we're putting these pieces back together. So for most of us, because of trauma at a young age, we really compartmentalize aspects of ourselves. So to go into integration, that's like way ahead down the road. The first part is you have to understand, hey, am I split? Am I like this with this person, like this with this person? Do I put this face on and then feel like this? So first and foremost, integration is like at the end of the line.
Yeah.
We have to take our own personal inventory and figure out what the hell is going on inside. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So to me, integration is way, way at the end of the story. We have to first make room for all the places where we have split apart.
Yes, yeah. For some of my listeners, for almost all year, I've been talking a lot about the role of like Neptune and Saturn and Pisces. And long story short, it's really about developing structure and discipline and integrity around your spiritual practice. And that's, it is quite a difficult harmony to sometimes get to because I'm an addict, was an addict, so it's very easy to also like transfer some of those addictive, obsessive, bypassing, numbing out qualities to spiritual practice too. So it's learning how to ease up, but also like where you need to be disciplined and how you need to be disciplined. So that's some of the stuff I just want to talk about today as well with you, of just like helping people like reframe their attitudes around spiritual practice, and to know that like it is such an important time to hone your own sense of um beliefs, and I don't mean like the story you're telling, but kind of like your moral compass, your spiritual attitude that you're carrying around.
Beautiful.
Like for me, spirituality is like just an acknowledgement that there's my human form, which is very, very important, and then there's a piece of me that's infinite and mysterious that has existed in our universe for eons. And so it's sort of honoring that exists, that duality exists at the same time, and making sure that I'm creating a connection between those things. What about for you, Abdi?
I mean, I feel you just said it, as a guy who's been around for a long time and has really delved deep, starting as an addict, and really delved deep into these different practices, Zen, meditation, yoga, martial arts, the Tibetan world for a short while, the whole Indian Advaita thing. I realized, and again, that's why I wrote my book. One of the things that I realized was that we have imported wholesale practices from cultures that were not individuated into a culture that's hyper individuated.
Yeah.
And as a guy, as a kid who lived in these countries, like India and Pakistan, and it was so different that when I came to the States, I was like, wait, some of this stuff doesn't translate.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that I saw and all the stuff that we kind of saw in the West, whether with the Tibetans or the Indian teachers or the Zen, PMS, power, money, sex. When you import these energies in a culture that's psychologically based, in these cultures that are not really psychologically based, that has to be addressed. No,
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything.
Mm.
I'm just saying that's one of the things that I saw in my own experience,
Mhm.
that it's very easy in a culture that's very addictive to do these things without really dropping in.
Yes.
So, first and foremost, we have to appreciate the fact that we're psychological beings. Second of all, I've rarely seen people get into a spiritual path that is not a product of psychological emotional damage.
Right.
Like no one just wakes up and is like, life's great, let me go sit 10 hours a day. Life's great, let me go do this, right? So as we get into this discussion, we're psychological beings. And then I've seen people, for me as a person who's been trained that way, do therapy, psychology for 10, 20 years, but really not get in touch with this spirituality piece of it because we're more than these meat suits. So we
Mm.
have to kind of balance those things.
Yes.
That's the first thing that I would say. But without getting into what are all these different paths, I would say it's really simple. Like we have to just feel, sit 5 minutes a day. Like we don't even know what we're feeling, right? Like I'm just sitting with the emotional checking in. If I got a smile on my face and I'm really angry inside, if I got a smile on my face, I'm really sad. One thing that I found being a clinician for a long time, no one feels.
Yeah.
We're so in our heads, right? Like we're disconnected from the body. So I would say first and foremost, sit and feel. And I would also say this, people can meditate and disconnect.
Yeah.
Me and you have talked about this in the past. You have like a meditation that's paying attention, mindfulness, and then you have a meditation that's like mantra based or like, transcendental meditation.
Yeah.
Why is TM so huge in this culture? Because you can do TM and not feel. Am I saying it's bad? No, it's incredible.
Yeah.
But they sell it as like, well, be more productive. I don't think productivity is the problem.
Yeah.
We have to get in. So we're strangers to ourselves and we can't tolerate what's happening underneath.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's first and foremost, just simple, keep it simple. And
Yeah.
again, I'm not poo-pooing anything, but I'm saying the unconscious can be punked. You're 100% right about bypass.
Hmm.
We have such a difficult time of just knowing ourselves and being intimate.
Yeah.
This stuff all comes up at difficult times in our lives and the point of death, right? As a guy who's been a doorman of death for a long time, hanging out with people who are dying, it's amazing how people haven't made peace with that. And that's one of the reasons we're always moving. Did that
Yeah.
answer? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, it's just about keeping it quite first and foremost, be able to just sit with yourself, keep it simple, and just be with yourself in a state of alertness, presence, whatever it is, where you're conscious of what's going on in your body, or you're conscious of how your mind is functioning in that moment, or whatever it is, your breath, um,
Mhm.
just being awake to yourself. As you were just talking too, like America really is, and I moved back to England in 2024, but I was gone for 32 years. So I lived in America, and I didn't realize that there was like white culture spirituality actually. Like I had no idea that there were actually it felt like it was always being, and I was just having this conversation with my partner too about this like sort of like reaching for other cultural spiritual connection. And when I was in, New York, I got to work with Lakota and I got to, visit with Amma in India and stuff like that. And but at the same time, when I moved back to England, I just, on the spring equinox, everybody goes to the Glastonbury tour, which is like actually an amazing energetic place. They watch the sunrise, and there are actually these group like connected spiritual practices that have to do with nature and just being with nature, and it was fascinating to me because I was like, what, this just I think England really, or America really is one of those places where it's incredibly isolationist and you don't know it when you're there. You don't know how actually disconnected you are from the nature around you or from your spirituality sometimes.
The hyper individuation here, it's beyond anything I've ever experienced, even the time I've lived here. And the COVID thing even broke it down more,
Yeah.
right? And as a kid who lived in England, and again, it's not idealizing in any place. Every place has its thing, but people really don't appreciate how separate we're kept here.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about, being bumfuck upstate where I live. Place like New York City, which is a place I've loved. Like the way people have really been disconnected, it's impossible to see, and it's a cultural hypnosis.
Yeah.
So we are cultural beings, we are social beings. The individuation thing is really, really painful.
Yeah.
That piece is no joke. And then every culture leaves an imprint then, right? Like leaves an imprint. So if you take a spiritual practice from India, where people are next to each other, no, 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 and you bring it here. But I always say this, right? Yoga has 8 branches. What is the one branch that everybody does? Asanas. Instead of the breathing, instead of why? Because it makes you look good. And we're all about looking a certain way. And
Yes.
everyone's got an eating disorder. Now, when I say this stuff, people get pissed at me, but it's true. Now, isn't it amazing to be in your body? Of course. But intention is really, really important.
Yes.
That intention piece is really, really important. One of the things that one can check, are you getting softer or are you getting harder with any
Mm.
kind of practice? Are you more at peace or are you getting more agitated? These are, there's proof in the day as you go along. And also, this thing that you think you are, which is not real, are you making that stronger or weaker?
Yes.
Follow
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Are you getting more sense of like, oh, I'm a Zen practitioner or so it's not about the practice. It's very simple. Like check yourself.
Yeah.
Peace.
Yes. Well, it's so related to our intuition as well because, you know, in my experience, like um, your intuition is a sensory mode of being, you know, it really comes through the senses. So if you are unable to be with your senses um, because you're afraid of discomfort, then you don't actually have a sense of your own trust in yourself, you know, and then it makes you sort of rudderless in the world if you can't trust your own sort of inner sensation to keep you safe or to alert you to what's going on. You know, you're unable to have any kind of clarity or live with any kind of peace internally.
So the culture really hates intuition because it can't control you. We all have these feelings where we meet someone who's going to be a partner and then they destroy us, or we go to a job that destroys us, or we meet a guru that destroys us. We are such thinkers, and thinking and intuition are two different things. The gut feeling, because we can't sit with ourselves, is very different on that. So that's a very important thing that you're bringing up. And something's happening planetarily that I'm seeing people's intuitions are really coming on strong and people are scared of it. I mean,
Yeah.
actually, stuff we talked about last time. They're having these synchronicity events, which is another crazy thing happening, so wild. People actually get scared of it as opposed to like being in awe of it. They're scared of it. So we become such strangers from ourselves.
Yeah,
So
do you
part of
think
that thing, go
sorry.
ahead.
Do you
No,
think
no.
that's because they immediately go to try to like rationalize it or intellectualize it?
It's so out of the norm of how they function that there's no room for it because
Yeah.
people have become so linear. A leads to B, B leads to C. I'm seeing this wild. This has been a couple of months now. Many have talked about these, and it's a part of because again, we talked about this a little bit last time. We're going into beehive mind, which is really how we were, like originally. And then we talked about AI. AI is the fake beehive mind, right? So many people are going towards that. Part of the beehive mind is we're really not separate. All that cute new age stuff, oh, it's all one. It's really real. My sense of it is it scares people because they have to give up the sense of individuation.
Yes.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so that aspect and these synchronous things happening, they're not in the ways that we think they're going to happen.
Do you know there's literally a TV show that's just come out about this very thing. It's called Pluribus, and it's like aliens come and they get everyone on the earth to be one hive mind, and there's like a few individuals and they're all freaking out, and it's like it's like a horror show, and it's basically exactly what you're talking about.
So it's so interesting. I always, with these shows, I was talking about this 20 years ago in the city, where I'd be walking and then all of a sudden all these buses would have these zombie movies and these vampire movies. And the culture speaks loudly. Like the unconscious is showing it, and that was showing what was happening, the way people were getting disconnected and not connected. It
Yes.
really does blow my mind that people get scared of it because I have these patients who have these wild synchronicities. Like wild, like you're just like, wow. They get scared of it. They literally will come and start crying. What is happening to me? Why is this happening? I have compassion on them, and I have to lovingly remind them, like, no, this is because your soul is ready to have this experience.
Yeah.
So the crazy thing is we're suffering from being hyper individuated. So some part of our soul is open to it. And then when it actually gets shown to us, we really freak out. This part is really wild. And it's going to get more intense for people, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like looking at the astrological archetypes, I mean, this is the time, and the messages that are going to be coming in on everything are very like the new moon coming up in Sagittarius. We were talking about how that's going to be conjunct, which means it's at the same degree, the same point in space as the
Mhm.
center of our galaxy, which is a massive black hole, basically.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's, you could think of it that it's the access point to all information of our universe,
Yeah,
really.
yeah. But
So
you have to get comfortable of letting go of your over identification with yourself.
yeah,
And we are vested so much, right? Like this is Rebecca, this is Abby, this is so wild. We suffer from it. We don't want to give it up.
yeah,
That's one of the things that really I see as is going to be a bit of a struggle for people. The thing I've talked about for a long time, working with dying people, I always tell people have a death practice. And then people think it's morbid. I'm not saying to be morbid. I'm saying this is not you.
yeah,
Like, have to relax into that. Now, someone like me and you, we've had practice for a long time, slowly towards it. Have compassion is happening really quickly for people, but also people like us who did it for a long time allows them to do it quicker, like the people before us did it for a long time.
yes,
That part, you can ask for help. You're talking to yourself.
yeah,
When you go to bed at night, just be like, lift this fear. I want it to be easy,
yeah,
right? Like, teach me not to be afraid of myself. We've become such foreigners to ourselves.
yeah.
30 some years ago when I was working with Robert Monroe. I don't know if you know about Robert Monroe. He's Journeys Out of Body guy. This is a guy that wrote the book Journeys Out of the Body. He would train people to leave their bodies, kind of happened to him naturally. And then he figured out this technology, which is all these hemisync tapes. He came up with that. And
Mm,
of course, the CIA and all these people started using them for remote viewing. Spent some time with this cat. It was in the 80s, so maybe like almost 40 years ago. He had this thing, I forget what it was called, Lifeline or something. He had these four really powerful psychics that would help people cross over. Like a lot of people get stuck in between lives. I know this is out there for some people, but you'll understand my point. One of the things that these psychics had a hard time with was people who had died and were stuck in between worlds. In their mind, they were only going to cross over if Jesus came to give them. So if to cross them over, because that was their vision. So if these psychics wanted to help them cross over, they were like, you're the devil.
yes,
That's how powerful the mind is. Not end of the day, it's all a dream. People will cross over. But we're stuck on that here in the same way.
yeah,
I'm so identified with this that if Rebecca comes and gives me a psychic message like me and you do all the time, I will freak out as opposed to like, this is cool. I can connect with it.
yeah,
So this beehive thing, also remember, the dark powers that be are really shoving this AI piece as this sort of fake version of it.
yeah,
And people are so scared that they're kind of taking that.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And they think of it as like facts and figures and, like information, and it's really like it's an amalgamation of opinion, if you ask me. Like
well,
it's
we're so disconnected from self because the thing that we're really hungry for is connection and we're scared of it. This
yeah,
is the thing that's really wild, right? We've become foreigners to ourselves. We're so hungry. Like people are hungry for this.
Yeah.
Very simple stuff. My sense of what's really happening, in my sense, I'm showing this to be the truth. Things are really going to change. Like people, you're not going to care. Oh, this guy has this much money. This guy's famous. It's going to be back to this, but people see that as a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. We've forgotten it.
Yeah.
Now, the guy who lived in the quote unquote third world in the 60s and 70s, man, it's fucking delicious.
Yeah.
Yes, no one's driving a Ferrari, but it's a different way of being in the world. We've forgotten what community is like. Everyone's like yada, 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 yada.
Yeah.
We've totally forgotten it.
Yeah.
I mean, in New York since the 70s, you know what I mean? Like the COVID thing really broke something.
That
Like,
was something.
yeah.
Yeah, during COVID, like one of the main things I kept thinking during COVID is like that we need to live with less conveniences. Like for me, I
Yes.
was like, just get used to having less conveniences and find where you can get things in your local community. Like I mean, I was living upstate at the time too, so it's like, who's got chickens? Like so and so's making bread. Like, you just find like
People,
ways.
yeah, people have forgotten. I mean, even New York, like in the late 70s, early 80s, I've spoken to you about this. Like being in the Lower East Side and rent was $200 a month and people hung out and you just go and listen to music here or go play music. I'm not idealizing it, but there was definitely a different experience. I really remember when the Wall Street stuff happened, money came in, the fame thing, like it wasn't a thing to fucking be famous. Like, it wasn't a thing. Why do you want to be famous? Because you got a hole in you. So that stuff's starting to happen. Now, what does this got to do with spirituality? If you're disconnected from self, you're going to go after those things. Those things are falling apart,
Yeah.
but it's not an accident. It's not a coincidence. There really is this piece where the soul is calling us back, and it's about joy. It's not about suffering. Oh, woe me, poor me, right? Either you can step into it or get dragged.
Yes,
If you're on
exactly.
the planet at this time, at this juncture, you've signed on a dotted line. So ask for it every night before you go to bed. I have no fucking idea what spirituality is. Align me. Whatever is not aligned, align me. See what happens.
I love that. Align me. Yeah. And one other thing I wanted to mention, like going back to the sort of like, preparing for your own death kind of part
Mhm.
piece. It's like get used to breakdown, basically. Like just allow things to break down. Like we're so trying to keep everything together and the trajectory we think our life should just be like up, 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 always climbing up. And it's not, it's a roller coaster, it's like
Yes.
what comes up must come down, and it's not a punishment. It's just like how everything is, spiraling or circling all the time instead of just being some linear path upward. And so like being able to go break down is absolutely how we rupture stagnation too, and how we allow for change and how we allow for growth. And I think that for people who have been on a path for a long time, this is something I wanted to talk to you about too, is that if you've had a period of everything being very like going really well, and you had a spiritual breakthrough before, and then you had some success in things going well, and then all of a sudden you find yourself back right now, and we're at the end of this like era for humanity, really. So we're doing the work for us. We're doing the work that our ancestors didn't do, our parents didn't do. I mean, it's all coming in to be
Well,
looked
but
like, what would be your advice for people who are just like burnt out on, they get disillusioned with their spiritual practice because they're like, oh, it doesn't work because I've plateaued and I was at this really good place and now I'm back to another, hard place again. What's your kind of take on that?
DT Suzuki, the famous Zen master, funny fucking guy. I love this guy. He had a great line. He would say, the most important thing is to know what's the most important thing. Such a fucking Zen thing, right? The most important thing is to know what is the most important thing. So I would offer that to people. Part of what happens with spiritual practice is, and so much of it is false in this culture because you cannot be in the culture and do spiritual practice. You can meditate so you can deal with your crazy job. I appreciate that. you at some point have to understand this culture is sick. You're not going to fit into it. You can't eat the food. You can't drink the water. You can't watch the TV. Everything, and at a level I've never seen before, is a lie. You know, the medicine is a lie. It's gonna fucking kill you. The politics is a lie. So it is really difficult and scary initially when you're like, holy shit, am I crazy? Or this is off.
Yeah.
You have to really make room for the fact that there's a lot of things you're gonna have to let go of. But it becomes to a point where you don't have a choice. When you get to a certain level, you have to just really follow it. It's not even that I have a practice, I have this, I have that, right? So much of spiritual communities, then they feel like they have the answer. It's already inside of you.
Yeah.
So if you have a burnout, you gotta chill. You gotta like not push all the time.
Yeah.
We're really cruel to ourselves,
Yeah.
right? Like I practice 6 hours a day. Like it's not about that. Like a little bit of kindness goes a long way. To tolerate anxiety, I would say if I could say one thing to people, learn to tolerate anxiety.
Yeah.
Right? I would treat adults in my acupuncture rooms who at 60 would say, can you leave the light on? Like, that's not okay. Like, you have to sit down, shut the light off, and sit with yourself.
Yeah.
So, this piece of it is you have, and we're not taught this stuff, right? It will get lonely, but not lonely because you already are lonely.
Yeah.
If you're sitting in a party and just looking around, no one asks your question, you feel an outsider. Those of us who are called into this are always going to have that feeling.
Mm.
Till you get to a point where you really appreciate yourself. You really like enjoying spending time with yourself. You really connect with yourself. And also this thing, you'll find your tribe, like
You
you might,
might.
yeah, but I'm saying like how many, so there's a lot of stories out there. And then the other thing, especially in America, within not the West, a lot of the spiritual stuff is like really based on consumption and doing better in the world. Spirit gives zero fucks how well you do in the world. Ironically, when you get to a place, you can actually then things flow easier, right? But there's this weird thing here that it's so connected. And in my experience of being around it, that's why I wrote Shadows on a Path. There's a lot of fallacy there. A lot
Yeah.
of these gurus that they haven't done their own work. Now you can learn from them, you can learn profound things.
Yeah.
I've sat with masters that your mind gets totally quiet, and then they're doing all this crazy shit on us, stealing money. So we as Americans, Westerners, have tools that these gurus didn't have
Mm.
because we know how to be in the world, right? Like that's one of the things that's really, really profound.
Yes.
So again, we have been directly infused what we need to know. We just got to listen.
Yeah.
And the willpower is the thing, man. We want to keep going for that bad relationship,
Yeah.
keep caretaking of this and this and this. We have to hold our own counsel.
Yes.
I mean, in a way, it's so simple, right? We make it really.
Yeah.
Now, what are the things? Slow down enough to see if you're coming from a place of truth. And don't be hard on yourself. When you get home at night, how many times was I false? Why am I doing that? Oh, I'm really scared. Unless I do this, I'm going to get punished. Right? Like really feel with that, have that appropriate relationship with yourself. Be
Mm.
soft, but also be firm. Right?
Yeah.
Some of it feels so like mumbo jumbo. And some of us really do need therapeutic work because of the trauma. But also a lot of therapists aren't spiritual and they poo-poo this stuff. So you have to have both.
Yes.
So I am for myself, that was like a really big deal.
Yeah. And you really need the integrative, everyone
Yeah,
really needs the integrative approach. You can't just come from the head approach either. You
totally. And I've had friends or spiritual teachers who really sold this thing of like, if you're doing spiritual work, you don't need therapy. That's fucking insane. You're a
Yeah.
psychological being. And yes, there's a lot of crazy therapists out there. I'm not saying it's the answer, but there's a lot of crazy, spiritual people. So we know, like someone listening to this, they know exactly what we're talking about,
Yeah. So
right?
it's
It's not,
it's as
yeah,
simple and not simple at all as like that, if you've got the same sort of like patterns coming up after a long
yeah,
time, that it's like, you know, okay, well, spirit doesn't really it's not here to give us a good time, we're here to learn something and to replace the judgment that we're holding with some compassion as well. And
yes.
it
And that's the
doesn't
shame.
mean. Mhm.
That's a shame thing,
Yeah.
right? Like there are certain things. For me, as a person who came from a very traumatic childhood and couldn't get the relationship thing straight, right? I woke up at a young age and had these Kundalini experiences. I could see everything. Didn't touch anything to do with relationships. And the only thing I ever wanted was a real partnership. Over and over, I would, and I'm like, well, am I stupid? Am I this? I was doing therapy. That's how it worked. I
Yeah.
had all that shame around it. People would shame me around it. And I remember at one point being like, fuck you, dude. You're in some shitty fucking relationship. At least I had the courage to step out. I didn't realize that till much later. That's how long it took,
Yeah.
right? I have third-degree burns. That's how it works. So I would say that to people too. Like we are very good at beating ourselves up. It's got the time that it takes. And I'm fully aware that my soul chose these things. And also in the middle of like getting fucked over in some divorce, I also be like, fuck you. I'm doing all my work. I know I chose this. And also fuck you. Like, how is this possible? All of it.
Yeah.
Not being like, oh, thank you for this lesson. No.
Yeah.
And not being a victim. Why did this happen to me? I'm like, that's how deep the burn was. That's how I learned.
Yeah, like one of the things that our society, well, Western societies, I mean, very much so in England as well, is like we're so anti-anger, and obviously there's good reason for it because there is also the projection aspect of anger that is violence. But, when I think of like the quality of anger, I just think of that's your inner know, that's you go in know. And that's such an important piece for all of us energetically, vibrationally. Like we have to be able to do that know. And some of the best times in my growth have been where I've just acknowledged my own rage, been like, no, and been a bit like, spirit, where the fuck are you? Like, help me out. What's going on? And that is some of those moments that are just the most honest for me as well as a human being. And we have to really get over that need for everything to be nice and pleasant. And if you're always pleasant, you're always nice, then you're spiritual. Those things are also like not in integrity.
Well, repression is really not real, right? So now this is very important what you said. Three things we do with emotions that I've learned. Repress them, the new agey thing. Totally act it out, which is really the rage thing. The third is just to feel them.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between anger and rage. Rage happens when you haven't felt the anger.
Yeah.
So be the good boy, be the good girl. That part is a repression because no one wants to feel anything because we're scared of it.
Yeah.
But beautiful what you're saying. Anger is actually the first thing that comes up and tells you something is off. It's actually very helpful. Especially in the US with the new agey stuff, the anger thing really became this crazy, just put that smile. You know, what is the thing that you hear with all these people that go on mass shootings? You're always like, I remember like as a child being like, well, he was such a good boy. Everybody loved him. You're like, yeah, and that fucker just went and murdered all these people. The unconscious can't be punked. It has to come up. But in order to feel the anger, you have to have enough connection with your body to know like, hey, I'm feeling this thing. That comes with time. That's what I'm saying. Sit a couple of minutes and see how am I feeling.
Yeah.
A lot of times you come home like things are great, and you sit there like, oh Jesus Christ, right? It comes up. Rage is when you haven't paid attention to the anger. The body knows everything. You don't even need to train it. You just got to listen to it.
Yeah. Make room for it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, well, Abdi, I feel like we've talked about kind of everything that I wanted to ask you about this.
Right.
I think my only other question would be just sort of for someone who has a hard time allowing their spiritual side,
Mhm.
like someone who just it doesn't come naturally to them. Maybe there's a lot of doubt around what
Mhm.
spirituality means, what that process is. Like how can they also just sit with this piece of just being in the body to allow that to come through?
Let all the language go because they're all false anyway. It's really about getting to know yourself. My experience, people don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Get to know yourself. Even this world spirituality, I was really sitting with it, Rebecca this morning, like, what? It doesn't even make sense to me anymore what spirituality is.
Yeah.
Become a friend with yourself. Choose alignment over attachment, authenticity over fitting in. It takes tremendous amount of courage to do that.
Yes.
Take the chance of looking like a fool.
Yeah.
Take the chance of that. And man, love yourself.
Yeah.
But everyone says that narcissism is not loving yourself. You know,
Yeah.
you said something really beautiful last time about like, hey, these ancestors called me here. And I said, no, that's not what I want. End of the day, it's really loving ourselves. And it's incredible how much we hate ourselves,
Yeah.
right? So make friends, but like just that. So all the other words, God, this, that, destiny, forget about it.
Mm.
Make friends with yourself. Understand that there's a reason you have to wake up, run, the music goes on, the coffee goes in your body, go, 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 go. Sit 5 minutes a day and see how hard that is. It's really simple,
Yeah.
right? And be a scientist about it.
Mm.
Like, am I fucking crazy or is something telling me something?
Yeah.
Like just that piece. Make friends with yourself. Even let these big words go.
Yeah.
Keep
Yeah.
it simple. But it is a part of like we're inauthentic,
Mm.
right? Like we have to really learn and keep it simple.
Yeah.
Keep it simple. You don't need to go into any of that stuff. 5 minutes a day, sit and feel your body.
Yes.
Just that.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Abdi. You know what? It
You're
did actually
welcome.
bring up something else I wanted to talk
Sure.
about too. I know I was like, we should end there because it was so nice what you just said. But
All good.
something that I've been noticing, and I loved your last podcast that you had on like apparitions
Thank
and
you. Yep.
relationships with other people, and it did make me think about this because I noticed this in myself too, because this is goes to the other way. This goes to the very spiritually sensitive person or whatever, someone who's, turn that volume way up or whatever on the dial for them. But I do see a pattern of people just really isolating themselves because it's so painful to be around other people because people act like shit and you get projected on. And so you go, you know what, maybe I'll never be in a relationship again, or I'll just hide out in nature and just be by myself. And of course, that can be a lot more comfortable in a lot of ways because you're
So
not
that's the same thing
triggered
as
all.
AI, right? So it's really important what you bring it up.
Yeah,
So it might look the same externally. I always say this to you. I guy in New York City, literally knew thousands of people, racing and martial arts and shamanism. I couldn't do it anymore because it wasn't feeding me, but also like people they were not relating to me. I would just sit there and listen and all that. I didn't become lonely. It just came a time I was like, this is good. I enjoyed my own company and it's great. And I don't feel lonely. I'm not, whoa, me. I love it. That's different than times in my life where I was so hurt that I would go do exactly what you said.
yeah,
Externally looks a certain way. Internally is very different. One of the things is we're all scared of relationship. So
yeah,
you can't use spirituality as a running away from that. For a lot of us, you learn more in a relationship that you're going to do any kind of meditation, this and that, right? Because another person just constantly reflecting back to you and you want to throttle them, that's the work.
yeah,
So I would say be honest with yourself. But this is something that I was just saying to you before we started recording. No one really tells you that the road really gets narrow.
yeah,
And we're at a time right now that also people are really checking out.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like being in conversation with these AIs is because we can't converse with another human being. So we've become so foreign to ourselves and our narcissism is so deep that we need something to reflect this back to us
yeah,
as opposed to actually with another person. So this does happen, not of like, oh, woe me, I gotta run away. It's also a part where like it's better just to do a real thing than to sit at some dinner for 3 hours and someone talks towards your ears with their anxiety.
yeah.
So it's never the action, it's what's the intention behind it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And I would also say, like, if you're really, really uncomfortable around other people, it's a good sign to show you that you've got a lot of emotional material that needs
Yes.
to be
Yes.
embraced. I remember early in my practice, like when I was doing more hands-on energy work, I remember that it took a while for me to feel comfortable doing energy work because there was so much energy in me that was meeting that energy that was a similar thing. So if someone had a lot of grief they were going through, or whatever, it would meet my grief, and I would be all alert inside from it. And that was part of like learning actually how to, that I had work to do on myself too. And so if we're around people and we're constantly feeling triggered,
Mhm.
it's such a good lesson for us in self-responsibility that, well, we have some work to do. We've got to let some emotions have room. It's not all just because someone's there and they're the reason for it. The reason for it is actually internal.
So that was beautiful. That is a great distinction. So I would say if you're being triggered, you need to be around people. If you're bored to death, then you can have your own space. And that's a big difference. And I would also say if you're around people and getting triggered, speak, share, say stuff, not just sit there and just absorb everything.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not about being lonely. Like alone is all one. Like that's a very important thing. But we also, just what you said, we know when we're full of shit. We know when we're escaping. And we also know like now it's time to do this,
Yeah.
right? To be with myself and know myself.
Yeah.
Because there are people that I know who are quote unquote alone all day from when they wake up. They're reading, doing, they're never alone. They're never spending time with themselves. So that
Yeah.
was a great distinction.
Yeah.
The road is narrowing. So we have to be aware of that. That's not because something is wrong. And pay attention. Where are you leaking energy? And not everyone's going to come with you. This is also very, very painful. And those of us who are caretakers and healers, we are really, oh my God, I want to help everyone. Bodhisattva, I will stay till the last person stays awake. You have to be okay that they don't want to come. Everyone goes home at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's another one we have to watch, right? Like, oh, I got, and those of us with, you know, painful backgrounds. The savior shit's out the window. The martyrdom is out the window.
Yeah. We're really going to see that coming up too this next year. Like this year, I ain't got nothing on next year. Next year is like
Really?
it's such an
In
energy.
what way? In what way? Tell me.
The energy will just shift dynamically, especially like come the spring. Like it's gonna be this last year, this year, the 2025 is about endings. It's really about the end
Really?
of the road,
Mhm.
and release. And next year is like about initiation. It's about starting things and it's fiery and it's just a totally different element. It's a totally different energy. And
Beautiful.
and everything on one hand it will become a little bit aggressive. There will be people who will take that initiation and they will be aggressive and steamroll, and then for some people they will just inhabit that sense of like warrior for themselves, and it will be like a dynamic, can't touch this kind of like
Beautiful.
sense that we have,
Beautiful.
you know
Beautiful. So we
yeah.
don't need as much KY is what you're telling me. The
That's
K
right. Yeah,
return to the story. I was
exactly.
going to leave things on a high note.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Like the
that's
universe will
beautiful.
stop fucking us soon.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm half joking, and this has been the hardest year in terms of all these 40 some years of working and the most meaningful. And my teachers talked about this 40 years ago. So this is part of the process going from, for the Hopis, going from the third world to the fifth world, you got to go through the fourth where everything is dismantled.
Yes.
And it's good right now. Not when to Tony said it's okay right now, right? So if that's not okay, check what needs to stay, what needs to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And for the listeners, if you're interested in some of the breakdown of the astrological impact that's going on, I'm going to include that in a blog to go with this podcast on my website, Rebecca, RebeccaConran.com. So I'll talk about some of these placements, and you don't have to be into astrology to understand it. I dumb it down for myself and for everyone because it can be complicated. So yeah, and to learn about Abdi and to visit with him, you can go to his website, www.abdiassadi.com. Thanks, Abdi. Always lovely to have you.
Well, connect with you, my sweet sister. Till next time.
Thanks, bye.
Ciao.